Hello kind people of YouTube and welcome back to another video. I already did my main video that included a look at the markets earlier today, so if you're looking for that, check my channel, it's already uploaded. But I had some other stories that I wanted to take a look at and excuse me, my throat has been a bit dry. And most of these are more analysis and market outlook than really short-term news, so I figured why not put them in another video, and that is what I'm doing right here. So as you can see, 5 articles open, most of them pretty long, so let's just jump into it. First up, here's an article from Bloomberg. This is an opinion piece, an op-ed, about the future of crypto. This one is generally rather pessimistic, but don't worry, the article we're gonna read after it is pretty much a counterpoint. I arranged it that way. But let's just take a look here, because I do think this author, Tyler Cowen, makes some very good points here. And as always, if you want to read this for yourself, the article will be linked in the description. These days, cryptocurrencies are far from the rage. Many have lost 80% or more of their market value from their peak in January, and some have fallen off the map altogether. But perhaps that development is precisely what we need for crypto to take the next step forward. For context, railroad stocks collapsed after a bubble in the 19th century, but still the railroad continued to transform our world. Internet stocks plunged in the dot-com crash of 2000 to 2002, but that in turn cleaned out the bad companies and paved the way for the subsequent tech revolution, including the rise of Amazon and Google. This history is no guarantee crypto will take off, but it does show that a price collapse does not have to herald the end of a technology or its relevance. One problem crypto has had is that too many junky ideas were tossed around and then often funded by ICOs. That is hardly a surprise given that the asset class went from basically zero to more than $800 billion value at its peak. People will try to get their share of that pie, and that will lead to thousands of white papers, startups, frauds, and yes, some valuable innovations. But from an outsider's point of view, it is hard to tell good from bad. With many people, crypto still has a dubious reputation due to lingering and not entirely accidental connections with get-rich-quick schemes, money laundering, and the drug trade. New markets, including valuable ones, are often abused at first. Now the time has come for crypto to go on a diet. No more easy money, no more thoughts about ICOs leading to quick riches. The rhetoric is shifting towards a more cautious or even apologetic tone. The corresponding reality can perhaps be one of greater focus and relevance. We're at the point where crypto finally has to prove its social worth, but what might that mean? Imagine using crypto as a medium of micropayments to pay for media on the internet. Or perhaps you'll use the blockchain to verify your identity, rather than telling some stranger on the phone the last 4 digits of your social security number. Or how about a system for self-executing zero-cost contracts? For example, I will give 10,000 to a charity if 10 other people do as well. Maybe the burgeoning field of virtual reality will rely on crypto to support some of its transactions, starting with virtual sex, which the major banks might stay away from. Alternatively, I might use crypto assets to send money to Mexico, avoiding the steep charges from current money transfer systems. In the more utopian visions, crypto leads to the rise of entirely self-governing systems powered by the blockchain. For all the experimenting and theorizing, however, Bitcoin and other crypto assets have yet to really change the world in those ways. Now's the time to make a big push on these and other fronts, because the money won't be in crypto unless it is helping to solve some concrete problems. If cryptocurrencies are little more than the new gold and try to survive as investment assets only, they will probably lose their luster and fade into irrelevance. Crypto needs a good story, and ultimately that has to move beyond the heroic innovation of Satoshi Nakamoto and become a story of practicality. The crypto world also has to work harder to remedy its current deficiencies. Probably you've heard that mining Bitcoin is bad for the environment because it uses a lot of energy, or that the information on the blockchain is unwieldy to transfer. Those costs can be limited by such practices as proof of stake and sharding, if further innovation makes those practical. By the way, if you're confused by the terms proof of stake and sharding, that is probably a good thing, as the tech guru Stuart Brand is reported to have said, the proliferation of terminology in crypto is a sign that new ideas and possibly important new technologies are afoot. Journalist Daniel Gloss wrote a perceptive but rather ill-timed book in 2007 called Pop: Why Bubbles Are Great for the Economy, which argued that bubbles can spur useful investment in new and still uncertain sectors, but his point, which is not always correct of course, was neglected in the pain of the financial crisis. It is also true that the subsequent popping of those bubbles can be good, both to bring prices back to reality and to impose discipline and identify the most useful innovations. Think of Bitcoin and other crypto assets as like a company that is finally receiving a cash call. I am modestly optimistic, but it is time to put up or shut up. Let us hope that this do or die moment will once again bring out the best in entrepreneurs. Now, the reason I'm talking about this article in particular, when we have so many articles like this coming out pretty much every day with people giving their opinions about the potential future of the crypto market, this one is both being published in Bloomberg, which of course has a large audience of traditional finance people, and it has been penned by an actual influential professor of economics. Here, Tyler Cowen is at George Mason University and has various books out, some of them relatively well known in the economic sphere. And I think he brings up a lot of good points here, both the historical precedent that bubbles don't necessarily mean that an area is dying, but that they can have a cleansing effect. Now, I've been saying similar things for a while here, that in 2017 in particular, but in the previous bull markets as well, we have seen a lot of money flow into cryptocurrency, but a lot of that was really dumb money. A lot of it was people not really knowing what they were doing. We saw a lot of projects got started that just seemed like they didn't really have a point. That seemed like they were just money-making schemes. And of course, there were large-scale actual Ponzi schemes and scams in the crypto world. Now, we seem to be mostly past that phase now. When the bubble popped, a lot of these scammers, a lot of these people who and they weren't all scammers. A lot of them were also people who just saw an opportunity to make a lot of money and started projects that didn't really make sense, that were essentially awful technology for no real reason. People tried to push blockchain into everything. People made a token for everything, whether it made sense or not. And we are getting over that. We are essentially cleansing our space, and as a result, I think we will come out of this much stronger. Now, I think he might be missing some stuff here. He's talking about these new upcoming technologies as if they hadn't really been put into action yet. But there are various cryptocurrencies out there that are successfully using proof-of-stake systems, for instance. He is framing that here as an innovation that hasn't really shown that it can be used efficiently yet. But actually, we are seeing that. We are seeing use of proof of stake. We are seeing major tokens also go from proof of work to proof of stake. That is pretty much going to be the future of crypto. And there are very, 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 very good reasons for that. And the biggest of them, of course, the incredible amount of electricity that is needed to currently create cryptocurrency in proof-of-work systems. But I'm so sorry, my throat just doesn't want me to talk today. But in general, I feel like he might not be following the markets as closely as some of us, because it feels like he's underestimating how far these new technologies have already come. Now, if you're just looking at Bitcoin, you're not going to see a lot of progress technologically, because a lot of people simply do not want Bitcoin to change. They don't ever want the Bitcoin core tech to be upgraded. If anything, they want sidechains, they want things built on top of it, but they don't want anything to be done to Bitcoin itself. So we see stagnation in the Bitcoin area. We do not see that stagnation with other cryptocurrencies at all. A lot of the newer cryptocurrencies have extremely advanced blockchains. A lot of them are either completely pre-mined or are proof of work, so we don't proof of stake. So we don't have to worry about environmental impact as much. So we don't have to worry about a lot of stuff that we wrote about before. A lot of them are much more scalable. A lot of them are much more capable of running other technologies on top of them. Honestly, the tech is pretty close to what we need. Now, building the infrastructure and finding the right use cases is going to be the next step before we go for mainstream adoption. But he does end it here by saying he is modestly optimistic. Now, if he said any more than this, he would probably be laughed out of the room because he is talking to a traditional finance crowd. He's pretty much coming out strongly in his point here. And I think mostly, I would put it a bit more positively, but mostly I agree with most of his arguments. And this crash, we are recovering from it, and next time we are going to be bigger than ever before. And we have cleansed our community. A lot of these scammers are gone. We have now had time to build infrastructure, and the future is gonna be bright. But let's continue on with statement by Tim Draper. Now, of course, when Tim Draper says anything, it's in the news. Recently, Tim Draper, a venture capitalist and Bitcoin maximalist, gave his views on Bitcoin and what the future might hold in an interview with Breaker. Draper says that he's been a crackpot for entrepreneurs and that he believed and supported startups that no one actually thought would take off. Draper has been acknowledged in the cryptocurrency space for his bold predictions about Bitcoin, one of them being his prediction of Bitcoin's price, which according to him would hit $10,000 when it was trading for just $413. He was among the very few people who invested in Hotmail, Skype, and Tesla. During the interview, Tim Draper was bombarded with a lot of questions regarding his views on Bitcoin and his take on the future of Bitcoin. According to Draper, healthcare or pension has improved over the years and it is not tied to any landmass. He also said the same holds good for cryptocurrencies. He said, "We finally got a currency that finally pervades all countries, that is global, decentralized, open, completely transparent, and keeps a perfect record. Why would we ever go back to political currency when we can use Bitcoin for all other things?" He clarified his liking for Bitcoin, saying that with Bitcoin they had only 21 million coins and it will stay at that limit. However, he feels that with Ethereum and other cryptocurrencies, one can decide to print more coins if they chose to. He also added that he still likes other cryptocurrencies for what they bring to the table. Now, this strikes me as a bit odd here because most cryptocurrencies have either a total coin cap or they have a strict number of new coins that gets released every year. So his idea that people can just decide to print more if they feel like it, that is most certainly not true for most cryptocurrencies, but let us continue here. Regarding the adoption of Bitcoin, he stated, "I want to be able to set up a fund that's all Bitcoin and I want the underlying companies to pay their suppliers and employees in Bitcoin. I want that because that can all happen without any accounting and we can build in smart contracts for my investors so that when one of the companies gets bought, I can hit a button and it can immediately go into all their Bitcoin wallets." He strengthened his current prediction of $25,000 by referencing an example from the past. Draper said that people called his $10,000 predictions far-fetched when the price of Bitcoin was at a mere $180 and rising. He added, "I'm assuming within the next year or so we're going to make it so that everyone buy a cup of coffee." I assume there's a can supposed to be here. "Everyone can buy a cup of coffee with Bitcoin using their smartphones. I only make one prediction at a time and mine is $250,000 per Bitcoin. But I look at it a different way. One Bitcoin is worth one Bitcoin and other currencies will fall against it." Now this is a large claim here. Because this is not just directed at fiat currency, but at all other currency. And I'm not the strongest Bitcoin supporter, but I'm not against Bitcoin either. I think Bitcoin can absolutely continue being a major player in the cryptocurrency world. But this idea of Bitcoin as the one world currency is just utterly ridiculous to me. I'm sorry, it just is. The technology of Bitcoin is so incredibly outdated already. Now imagine what will happen in another 10 years once more development has been done on the basis of blockchain technology. Pretty much every altcoin from the last 2 or 3 years is technologically advanced compared to Bitcoin. And even with these more advanced ones, I think it's incredibly unlikely that any one token will ever become the major world currency with all other currencies falling away against it. Now, I get what he's trying to say here. One Bitcoin is worth one Bitcoin. That is essentially saying that he wants to use Bitcoin as the standard rather than judging it against something else like the US dollar. Because of course, when you're talking about Bitcoin in terms of its US dollar value, you are putting the US dollar as the standard, you are framing it in that way. So I can understand what he's trying to do here, but other currencies will fall against it? Really? Really? He says 1 Bitcoin will always be worth 1 Bitcoin because the number of Bitcoins will always remain capped at 21 million, unlike other cryptocurrencies whose circulating supply can be increased. Now, this seems to be an inflation argument. Since Bitcoin supply is limited, there won't be any inflation. Now, of course, a Bitcoin will always be worth 1 Bitcoin even without inflation because you're measuring it against itself. $1 is also always worth $1. That doesn't mean the value of $1 doesn't change over time. You just can't value something against itself. Then it will always be worth itself. Draper said that he has 2 assumptions, the first being that within the next year, smartphones can be used to pay for coffees or at restaurants with Bitcoin, which is about 5% of all currency in the world. The second being that countries like Japan are accepting Bitcoin as national currencies. Yeah, I'm a Japan expert. I have a degree in Japan. That is not going to happen. Furthermore, Draper said that he is a wagerer when it comes to Bitcoin and that he will invest more when the software is built because people to recognize the drawbacks of fiat currencies and accept Bitcoin. Draper concluded his predictions on Bitcoin, which many consider as crackpot theory, saying, "It was a crackpot theory when I backed Hotmail. It was a crackpot theory for me to be the first Silicon Valley investor to invest in China. I have been a crackpot for the entrepreneur, and entrepreneurism has spread throughout the world." Now, he's vastly overstating his actual function here. He's vastly overstating how first he was. I'm sorry, but this guy is just getting a bit ridiculous. Now, in general, I'm not that opposed to a lot of the things he is saying. I think they're exaggerated. I think he might be doing some of it on purpose. But here, the whole idea, if he said these things about cryptocurrency in general, they would already be pretty out there, because it's very unlikely that we'll get anywhere near to mainstream adoption within 1 year. The culture doesn't move that quickly. Infrastructure doesn't move that quickly. Governments don't move that quickly. But then to say that it will be Bitcoin, where we don't even yet have proper solutions to scale Bitcoin. We are developing a bunch, and there are some promising things, but we have nothing that can properly scale Bitcoin to the level of being used as a national currency or being used for 5% of transfers in the world. That is just ridiculous, and I just think it's funny. But yeah, we had, I just wanted to use this article as a counterpoint to this one, because here we have a very tepid support for crypto that is very much based in reality, and here we have a very bullish one that deep down there's also some basis on some reality, but he just takes it so far. I just think it's hilarious. I think Tim Draper is hilarious. Let's continue on and let's get onto Bitcoin Cash. Now, as most of you know, in about a week there's a major hard fork coming with 2 major sides and a lot of discussion about that, and let's see what happened now. Ongoing drama surrounding the upcoming Bitcoin Cash hard fork struck a personal note with the coin's best known figures on November 8th, as Craig Wright evidently called Roger Ver his enemy. The hard fork, scheduled for November 15, will likely see Bitcoin Cash split into 2 rival coins, Bitcoin Cash ABC, favored by Ver, and Bitcoin Cash SV, offered by Wright's N-Chain. The split comes as a result of Ver and Wright, among other figures attached to Bitcoin Cash, disagreeing over the coin's future, with those disagreements becoming increasingly public and strongly worded in recent weeks. On Thursday, November 8th, tempers appear to boil over, Ver releasing what appears to be a screenshot of an email sent to him by Wright doing a video about his thoughts on the hard fork. In the alleged mail, Wright claims Ver hates Bitcoin and describes him as the enemy, before ending with a thinly veiled threat. "I am Satoshi," he writes, repeating his controversial assertion about being the creator of Bitcoin itself. The letter continues dramatically. "Have a nice life, you will now discover me when pissed off." While Wright has yet to comment on the validity of the email, rhetoric has continued to come from his Twitter account, certain posts capturing the imagination of online commentators. Summarizing his feud with Ver, the analyst known as Ray Redacted highlighted further accusations by Wright that both Ver and Bitmain CEO Jihan Wu, who also supports ABC, wanted to promote child pornography. "This is the only real use case they have, and it is not happening," Wright wrote on Twitter Thursday. At press time November 9th, the anger continued, Wright adopting a curious tone about his own Bitcoin Cash faction, describing it as not tolerant of alternative proposals. "ABC care about many coins and experiments, we care only for the original version of Bitcoin," he tweeted, adding, "We are not tolerant, we will not capitulate, we will not surrender, we will not negotiate, we will not end." Oh my god. There is just so much good stuff here. Sometimes it's very hard to distinguish the kind of stuff that goes on in the crypto world from comedy. I'm so excited for in 10 or 15 years when we have major motion pictures about these feuds. Because this is just insane. And now, of course, the version supported by Roger Ver, Bitcoin Cash ABC, that is the version also supported by most crypto exchanges and most major players in the Bitcoin Cash world. So you can see right here is running scared because his version appears to not be garnering any support. In the case of this hard fork, the Bitcoin Cash ABC is likely going to be the one that will just be known as Bitcoin Cash in the future. But of course, it's questionable if we should take anything that White says or done seriously, since he claims to be Satoshi with absolutely no way to back that up. Now, here, it's so simple. If you actually are Satoshi, there are a million ways you could easily prove that. The fact that he hasn't means he's full of, excuse my language, shit. That means he's making all of this up, and it's just ridiculous. And he thinks he is so important. He is not. As we can see here, with pretty much everyone deciding his version of the hard fork is not one they're going to support. But it's just getting ridiculous. Like this sounds like something some conspiracy theorist on the internet would write. This is and also the accusation of child pornography. I'm pretty sure there's absolutely no real basis for that. It's just something he said because child pornography gets attention, and it's just utterly ridiculous. Now, this whole saga, I've been watching it relatively closely. There's news about it almost every day, and it just gets crazier and crazier. And the fork is happening on the 15th, so we're gonna find out what is actually happening then. Now, continuing on, some statements from the NEO founder about blockchain regulation. Da Hongfei, I probably mispronounced that, I'm very sorry, the founder of AntShares, presently and best known as NEO, believes that blockchains and cryptocurrencies are over-regulated in the extreme. In fact, he was recently quoted in a discussion with 8 Bitcoin as saying, in essence, blockchain can barely survive within the existing financial regulation system. A licensed institute might find it unnecessary to cooperate with a blockchain company because it is already licensed to conduct the business. Why would it bother to be engaged in a partnership that doesn't benefit it that much? If blockchain companies end up with no license, they won't be legally permitted to promote massive adoption of applications. Hongfei should know. NEO, along with several other blockchain ICO-funded projects, offered refunds to buyers in an effort to comply with Chinese rulings on ICOs. One of the elected ICOs was actually a token that lives on the NEO blockchain, Red Pulse. Today, Red Pulse has a market cap of just $22 million, while the NEO price has been in a depression for quite some time, resting under $20 at present rates. Keep in mind here, this is referring to China in particular, where legislation around ICOs is incredibly strict, way stricter than we've seen in pretty much any other country. And so when he's talking about regulation here, I might be off. I think he's talking within a Chinese context, not necessarily all regulation everywhere. Hongfei commented on the rise of blockchains being utilized in gaming and noted that NEO had in particular been chosen for blockchain gaming projects. The interviewer noted that a NEO-based company called New Econo Labs had officially sponsored a blockchain game development competition. He said that the use of blockchain in games instead of finance, by and large, is a result of regulatory barriers. Of course, blockchain can be useful in both, but Hongfei feels that games development is a good second to finance in terms of impacting society with the blockchain. In the future, blockchain games may present a virtual world similar to that constructed in the sci-fi film Ready Player One, where all the virtual assets are recorded on the blockchain, the implementation of which requires a flawless economic model. However, we can't predict the timing of such games. I hope that someday blockchain games can even be played by my daughter. He was asked about the decentralization of NEO, which has occasionally been called into question. NEO is not mined like traditional cryptocurrencies, and its supply is stable. The primary nodes at the backbone of the network are owned and operated by the NEO Council. He responded that several other entities had recently entered their space and that eventually they could be operating on the mainnet. However, the majority of votes come from exchanges in our team so far, which gives the NEO team more say on the matter. The team will delegate the voting power to the public in the future, and by that time, the team will have a less dominant influence on the voting results. Now, this is a pretty weak statement in my opinion. They're not doing a good job at all at fighting back against these concerns. Now, of course, you have to you have to ask in any given project, does this particular project need to be decentralized given what its aim is? Now, I know a lot of people are supporters of blockchain technologies, of cryptocurrencies, because they like the idea of decentralization. But how decentralized or centralized something should be always depends on what its use case is. For some systems, something centralized is still superior. For some other systems, something decentralized is superior. So I don't think it should make or break by whether something is decentralized. We should be looking at what they're trying to achieve and if decentralization is the right way to that. But if you're gonna argue that you're not all that centralized, this is not the right statement to make. Finally, an interesting comment from Hongfei is that while there are a number of public blockchains in addition to Neo and Ethereum, most of them don't have enough interesting applications on them. He stopped short of calling on society to push developers towards blockchain innovation, but it's certainly implied. And his quote, "There are many public chains, but we are running short of upper layer application and developers. It's like you have developed an operating system, but there are no apps running on it, without which the operating system is same as dead. Yes, we do feel some sort of threat. Facing the competition from our peers, Neo reacts by exploring how to develop an ease of use and developer-friendly public chain. For example, we think docs and tutorials are important as they can quickly teach the developer to develop smart contracts on Neo." And credit where credit is due, Neo, to my knowledge, has done an admirable job at making sure people know how to develop on their platform, helping people develop on their platform. They're very, very good at that. But here we see some criticism about regulation. Now, there are of course always two sides to these discussions. Now, there are good arguments to be made for why a certain level of regulation might be necessary. The question is rather how that regulation should happen, and applying traditional financial rules to new technologies that cannot work. We need to come up with new frameworks. And last but not least, let's end this video with some Ripple price predictions. I haven't done that in a while, so I saw this article and on Use the Bitcoin, and it does actually go into a bunch of potential reasons we might be looking at bullish sentiments for XRP, with them in particular claiming here $5 in 2019 as a possibility. Now I know a lot of my subscribers expect much higher prices by then, but I'm not quite that bullish on XRP. Now, I'm a massive XRP supporter. If you ask me which my favorite project in the cryptosphere was, I would probably say XRP. I think Ripple has the best network, the best use case, the best infrastructure of any of the crypto projects, and that they have the biggest chance of being absolutely huge in the long term. But I also think this is going to take time, so I don't necessarily think we're going to see hundreds of dollars in value in a couple months. But this 5 in 2019, let's see what they're saying here, what Eric Grant is saying here. If you think cryptos will return back to all-time highs, Ripple would present a greater ROI compared to a coin like Bitcoin. This is because at its current price of 51 cents, a return to $3.30 would represent nearly a 6 times rise compared to Bitcoin's 1.5 times. Is this possible? Will Ripple reach back to its all-time high? Some experts have gone so far as to predict XRP to hit $5 by the end of the year, which would represent 15 times. See, you can tell this was previously an article about about end of 2018 that they have since updated, as you can tell here as well. So keep in mind here, this is not a new article. This is an article that they continuously update with different reasoning for their predictions here. Number one reason they give here for why we could see XRP hit $5 soon: increased adoption by banking institutions. Ripple provides a blockchain solution which tries to solve the problems that have hampered the financial industry over the decades. Slow transaction processing speeds, high transaction costs, and unreliability. Ripple also aims to make cross-border payments far more efficient for these large payment providers. Early success in showing these solutions is why major financial institutions have been quick to partner with the Ripple platform. So far, over 100 financial institutions who range from payment providers to banks have partnered with Ripple and are in the process benefiting from the many blockchain solutions that the platform offers. Earlier this year, Ripple partnered with Bank Dhofar, the first bank in Oman to make such a partnership. Dr. Tariq Taha, the bank's chief of information in a press release statement, was quick to point out why this move was so significant for the bank. With this, we can provide instant, frictionless and secure cross-border money transfers within seconds with end-to-end visibility over the journey of the payment. Ripple has also stated that an announcement is forthcoming where it will partner with many banks in Germany. Their number 2 reason: further partnerships. Ripple has been positioning itself as the preferred distributed ledger technology for cross-border financial transactions. On this front, Ripple has seen major adoptions by financial firms. Sadly, the price of XRP has not shifted proportionally to these partnerships. Some commentators have suggested it's because some of these firms are not utilizing Ripple's native coin XRP. While this is partially true, below we are going to look at 3 reasons why the price of XRP is going to peak soon, according to them. Number 1 is their Flutterwave partnership. Flutterwave is an Africa-focused firm that seeks to bridge the gap between Africa and the global economy. Its partnership with Ripple allows Flutterwave to utilize the power of Ripple's blockchain to build payment infrastructures that will serve their mission. This partnership has, for the first time, opened Africa to the Ripple platform, which has been the de facto blockchain for processing payments in other parts of the world. To realize the full potential of the platform, Flutterwave had to undergo new configurations, which included the installation of xCurrent. This connection allows all the platforms on RippleNet to send and receive payments in real time. Ripple's xCurrent will be interfacing with Interledger protocol designed by Flutterwave to accommodate a single currency. As this partnership runs deeper, a use case for XRP will presumably naturally arise, and that will impact its price positively. Now, they don't actually have to presume this because that use case is called XRapid. And Ripple's whole plan is to get people started on xCurrent and then move them onto XRapid using the XRP token, which is even more efficient. The second reason here, integration on Money Netent. It's another significant integration that will see the price of XRP rise in the coming months. Money Netent is an e-money firm based in the United Kingdom. The firm specializes in sending money across borders for corporate clients. It's something that implies that the amount of money being sent is relatively huge. Yishai Triff, I probably mispronounced that, very sorry, the CEO of Money Netent, in a statement said, "Once we realized how professional the Ripple team was and supports the process, we decided to choose them. We expect that together we will be able to lead significant development and simplify processes in the area of cross-border money transfers." The processes of interfacing and approval between financial institutions, previously taking months or even years, are now significantly reduced to a matter of days to a few weeks. This positive development indicates that Ripple is likely to rise soon, given that this is the beginning of their collaboration. I assume they mean XRP here, not Ripple. And here, using credit cards to buy XRP on Changelly. Cryptocurrency traders on Changelly, a virtual currency exchange, are now able to use their credit and debit cards to purchase XRP on the platform. This move is now possible after the cryptocurrency exchange partnered with a credit card processor, Simplex CC. The credit card processor is a licensed financial firm in the European Union. Changelly even sent an email to their users announcing the good news and indicated that it's for the wise investors to convert US dollar or euro to Ripple, XRP. With most financial institutions prohibiting their customers from using their credit cards to buy crypto, the move by Changelly will see more people investing in XRP directly from their bank accounts. Also, there are other significant partnerships that have the potential to impact the price of Ripple in the coming months. Once again, they mean the price of XRP here. For example, the Gates and Melinda Foundation partnership that has helped connect the unbanked people to financial solutions through the Moja Loop project. The project uses the power of Ripple's Interledger protocol. Moreover, the Ripple CEO has stated that dozens of financial institutions will be using the XRP token in 2019. His actual quote was that he hopes dozens will be using it. A very different connotation there. So it's safe to assume that the price of XRP will see massive gains soon. Number 3, it is now the fastest transaction processing platform. Visa used to be the fastest company when it came to global financial transaction speeds until recently. A number of system updates on the Ripple platform have seen the platform overtake the top position. Before the system update, Ripple could handle only 1,500 transactions, but now can process up to 50,000 per second. This is over double the number Visa can handle with 24,000 only. This makes Ripple the fastest transaction processing platform in the world. Now corporations can subscribe to the XRapid package offered by Ripple and make quicker and safer transactions. The package will also help drive down the cost of currency exchange and global settlement, since XRP and fiat currency fit like a glove and a hand. This will save companies and their customers millions of dollars each year. And their final reason here is technical analysis. We keep an active and current long-term XRP technical analysis on Ripple price here. Once again, they mean XRP price. Ripple is the company, XRP is the token. Further Ripple information can be found on a search of our site for the term Ripple, such as Vice ratings giving Ripple a buy note, which I talked about, remember, an analysis of the Ripple ad showing off its network capabilities, and a guide on where to buy Ripple. So this is all just them advertising their other articles. Of course, much of Ripple's price is going to depend on the market at large, and it will need some serious growth to shoot from 50 cents to $5, but that's what 2019 is for. If Ripple can escape its hearing as a security and gain traction on the free items above, it could easily be a new institution in modern banking. And the partnership keeps coming, despite the bear market. So there are big players that are still very bullish on Ripple. Now, I wish they went a bit deeper in technical analysis here. And, I know they're linking to other articles, but it should really be included here because for all their talk of $5, that seems to be a very arbitrary number that isn't based on any mathematical models or any actual clear reasoning here. They go through a lot of reasons to be bullish on XRP, which I share. I absolutely share them. XRP getting a bunch of partnerships, getting used by more and more companies, being very fast. Then Ripple having even more companies using Xcurrent or RippleNet. RippleNet, of course, is also accessible to XRapid. Through RippleNet, you can use XRapid. So when anyone is announced as using RippleNet, that means it could be anything. But Ripple, of course, as a company, quickly expanding, more and more collaborations and partnerships. Most of them not immediately talking about XRP, but their business plan is to start people off not using XRP and then move them onto XRP, it appears to be. So I very much share this bullish sentiment. I'm not sure where they got this $5 number from. Maybe it just sounded nice, maybe they just wanted to have 10 times the current price. I do think $5 in 2019 is very much a real possibility. You have to remember, XRP managed to reach a price of, they're quoting $3.30 here, but I believe according to CoinMarketCap it was actually $3.70. So it has reached almost $4 just off hype alone in the last bull market. If another bull market hits, we can almost certainly see it exceed that value, and even if no bull market hits, there are a lot of reasons to be very, very bullish on XRP, which we have gone over in this article and which, if you're watching my channel, I talk about frequently. But with that, I'm gonna end today's video. What do you guys think? What can we see for XRP in the near future? I'm very uncertain about 589 by the end of the year, which is what a lot of people are predicting. But I think seeing it in the high 1 digits or even in the 2 digits by 2019 is very realistic. Now, as always, all the articles are linked in the description. In the description, you can also find ways to support my channel if you like my content, as well as my social media pages. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll be back with another video tomorrow.